Welcome to Downtown Sports. My name is Downtown Stephen Brown, and in today's video, I want to talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs and their goaltending situation heading into next season. Because after signing Joseph Woll to a contract extension that doesn't kick in until the year afterwards, the Maple Leafs then went out and signed goaltender Anthony Stolarz. And it looks like their plan is to run both of these goalies as a tandem for this upcoming season. But the immediate thing that jumps off the page at you is that neither of these guys have played more than 30 games in a single season in the NHL. So, is that a plan for success or not? Let's take a look. The other thing that immediately jumps out at you is how cheap both of these guys are, right? Because Woll's extension for $3.6 million a year doesn't kick in until the season afterwards. He's still making $766,000 for this upcoming season, which is under the league minimum. Both of these guys combined to make $3.2 million for this upcoming season, which is currently the fourth cheapest goaltending tandem in the entire NHL. And there's a bit of an asterisk next to that because while Washington has both of their goalies signed in Logan Thompson and Charlie Lindgren, Buffalo and Calgary still need to re-sign Dustin Wolf and Ukko Pekka-Luukkonen. And if those guys come in at anything more than $1.2 or $1.3 million, Toronto could potentially have the second cheapest goalie tandem in the entire league next season. So right off the hop, they're not very experienced, but we'll get back to that one in a minute. They're also very cheap, but I think everyone's main concern here is do they stop pucks, right? And if we're looking at some advanced numbers here, Anthony Stolarz actually finished third in the entire NHL last year in goals save above expected. And what that stat tries to measure is how many more goals a goalie either prevented or allowed based on both the quantity and quality of scoring opportunities that they faced. So even though Florida was a pretty good defensive team last year, Stolarz was a damn good goalie. And for curiosity's sake, if we scroll down a little bit on this list, we'll find Joseph Woll at 22nd. If you needed a goaltender this offseason, you were kind of out of luck. Because on the screen right now is a very short list of goalies who were actually good in any of the past two seasons who were either free agents this summer or traded. And depending on who you want to listen to, the Maple Leafs apparently had a very competitive offer with the Calgary Flames for Jacob Markstrom. But that deal didn't get done because of the politics between Brad Treliving and the Calgary Flames, and they were also interested in Linus Ullmark, but apparently, according to some reports, Ullmark had Toronto on his no-trade list. The only other interesting goalie that was available via trade this offseason would have been Logan Thompson from the Vegas Golden Knights. And he ended up going to the Washington Capitals for 2 third-round picks, and he's really the only goalie on this list that I would split hairs over, just because he's more of a proven commodity than Anthony Stolarz, but at the same time, he's also much cheaper at just $766,000 this upcoming year. The Maple Leafs could have potentially been only spending $1.5 million on their goalie tandem if they opted to acquire him instead. But if you're looking at the numbers at the same time, Stolarz was much better than Logan Thompson this past season, and the Maple Leafs are betting that this is a goaltender who is capable of handling a heavier workload. The only reason why he hadn't played more than 28 games in a single season is because he's been behind both John Gibson and Sergei Bobrovsky in both Anaheim and Florida for the last several years. Because 2 years ago, when I was much more optimistic about this team, we made this video talking about the Maple Leafs potentially being interested in trading for John Gibson. And we basically came to the conclusion about 2 or 3 minutes into the video that if you were interested in a goalie from the Anaheim Ducks, that it should be Anthony Stolarz. So to see the Maple Leafs go out and acquire this player now is kind of cool because I get to reference this video and say, hey, Anthony Stolarz was good 2 years ago, and now they actually signed him. But also, in looking at the numbers, Stolarz consistently outperformed John Gibson year over year, and this was not the good Anaheim Ducks. These were the same Ducks that were very, very clearly trying to finish last. And Stolarz was able to consistently put up positive numbers playing behind that team. Usually it's just a good strategy to try to acquire players before they have their breakout seasons. And In the case of Anthony Stolarz, who was very good for a very bad Anaheim Ducks team for a number of years and then was great for the Florida Panthers last year, I don't think it had anything to do with his play for why he didn't get that opportunity. The Ducks clearly just liked John Gibson, and Sergei Bobrovsky is one of the best goalies in the NHL. Coming to Toronto, he's going to get an opportunity to play more games, and I don't think he's going to have any trouble living up to the $2.5 million 2 year contract. If he plays as well as he did in Anaheim, and especially if he plays as well as he did in Florida for the Leafs, um, Toronto's going to have two very good goaltenders this year. We already did a video breaking down Joseph Woll's new contract. I'll leave it linked above the screen and at the end of the video if you wanted to check it out. But the root of it is on the screen right now with all of the numbers. And we're comparing Joseph Woll to other young and up and coming goaltenders who recently signed contracts. On a list with both Jake Ottinger and Ilya Sorokin, Joseph Woll has the highest goal save above expected. And that's not me saying that Woll is better than either of those goalies, because at the end of the day, your best ability is your availability, and Woll has been injured a lot over the last couple of seasons. But that's also probably why he only signed for $3.66 million and not a lot more. You know, if he was healthy and putting up those numbers, obviously he would have been worth more than that. But if we're looking at the cap equivalent, so if we're looking at what 3.98% of the cap should be in 2025, 2026, and we're comparing all of these deals on a level playing field, Joseph Woll also got almost $1 million less than those guys. You cannot afford to wait until players are proven commodities in a salary cap world to decide to commit to them long term. You need to take some risks sometimes, and by signing him for $3.66 million in 3 years, there are some risks there. You know, every contract that you sign, you hope you're going to get surplus value on. You hope that that player is going to outperform that deal. And if Joseph Woll isn't able to figure out the injuries, well, then he's going to be the 25th or 26th highest paid goalie in the league. And if he plays between 25 and 30 games and gives you a 915 save percentage, that's about market rate. If you look at the other goalies who are within that range, um, that's about what they are. It's a very muddy middle of guys who are very inconsistent or struggle with staying healthy, but play well when they are. But the Maple Leafs are looking at this guy who they've had in their organization now for 8 years, and they're making a bet on him. Because if he is able to figure out the injuries and he's able to play 40, 45, 50 games and play at the level that he's shown, especially in the playoffs, where he's got like a 933 career save percentage in 7 playoff games, um, he's going to be worth a lot more than $3.66 million. So you lock him up now while you still can. Beyond Joseph Woll and Anthony Stolarz, the Maple Leafs also have 22-year-old goaltending prospect Dennis Hildeby, who played with the Toronto Marlies last season and was an American Hockey League All-Star, posting a 913 save percentage in 41 games. So if Stolarz or Woll end up getting hurt this year, they do have someone to lean on. You know, Dennis Hildeby, like we said, was an American Hockey League All-Star this past year. Joseph Woll was an American Hockey League All-Star the season before that. And if Hildeby is following in the footsteps of Joseph Woll, if he's progressing at the same rate, well, then Hildeby this year will be at where Joseph Woll was at the start of last season. And Woll's season last year was really split up into three parts. You know, he had a very good stretch to begin the season, then got hurt, wasn't really able to recover from that injury, but come the playoffs, he was unbeatable against the Boston Bruins. So if Hildeby is able to give the Leafs what Joseph Woll did last year, which overall was 25 games of above league average goaltending, because league average save percentage last year was like 903, um, the Maple Leafs are going to have three pretty good goalies on their hands for next season. And to tie a bow on things here, Matt Murray will be auditioning for the role of Martin Jones this year. The Maple Leafs did re-sign him for a 1 year deal worth, I believe, like 875 grand. He'll be a veteran option. He'll start in the American Hockey League. Maybe he's able to be a mentor to a guy like Dennis Hildeby or even Joseph Woll behind the scenes. I don't know. He did, recovering from double hip surgery last year, he did manage to play a couple of games for the Toronto Marlies at the end of last season. He wasn't very good, but um, he would have had another off season to recover. I don't know. I don't expect much from Matt Murray from this upcoming season. If he plays 10 games, things went very, very wrong. And also when you consider that Chris Tanev, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, and Yanni Hakanpää, if he's healthy or even exists at this point, because other than Brad Treliving talking about him in a press conference, we've seen absolutely nothing. We don't know if he's ever going to play hockey again. If you're interested in checking that video out, I'll leave it linked at the end of the this one. But if he is healthy, he's a legitimate monster, and he's a great shutdown defenseman that Dallas used in their top four last year against the other team's best players. I do think that those guys are significant upgrades over Ilya Lyubushkin and Joel Edmondson. So I do think that the Maple Leafs blue line, I'll even go as far as to say that this is the best blue line that they've had in the Austin Matthews era. So that's going to help out Joseph Woll and Anthony Stolarz, who the Maple Leafs think can be very effective in a tandem. Joseph Woll, if he's able to stay healthy, he's going to be great. Anthony Stolarz hasn't really been given an opportunity to play very much throughout his career, but he's been great in front of a bad Anaheim Ducks team, and he was good last year for the Florida Panthers. And if one of those guys gets hurt, they do have Dennis Hildeby, who's 22 years old. He was an American Hockey League All-Star last year. He played very well for them, for a Marlies team that was, they made the playoffs, but they were bad. And then they got old man Matt Murray as well. So they do have depth. They do have 3, 4, reluctantly including Murray in that group, goaltenders that can play NHL games. Like I said, a lot would have to go wrong for Matt Murray to play any significant amount of games, anything more than 5 or 10, I would say. Would I like the Maple Leafs to have Igor Shesterkin or Connor Hellebuyck or Andrei Vasilevsky or Bobrovsky, a Vezina caliber goalie that can play 60 games? Yeah, but you got to draft and develop those guys. And the Leafs do have some quality goaltending prospects. Dennis Hildeby was an American Hockey League All-Star. If Joseph Woll's able to stay healthy, he should be pretty good. 933 save percentage in 7 career playoff games. He was unbeatable against the Boston Bruins. They also have 2 guys coming over from Russia, Artur Akhtyumanov, if I didn't butcher that name, and Vyacheslav Peksa, who are going to play roles for the Marlies and the Cincinnati Cyclones. That's a new one, no longer the Newfoundland Growlers. Yeah, I don't know. At this point, I'm kind of just repeating myself. If Woll stays healthy, he's going to be great. And Stolarz, man, that's been a tongue twister the entire time I've been recording this video. Stolarz, I don't know. I looked it up. I listened to a commentator say it 4 or 5 times. It's not registering in my brain. If I said it wrong, I said it wrong at this point. But he hasn't had an opportunity to play. But he's been great for bad teams and for good teams for a number of years now. So the Maple Leafs are rolling the dice with their goaltenders, and hopefully they can yell Yahtzee at some point. So I'll ask you guys, are you optimistic? Are you hopeful? Do you like Stolarz? How do you say it? Joseph Woll this upcoming season. What are your thoughts and your opinions? Let me know down in the comment section below. Make sure to like the video if you did like it, and subscribe for more, because more is always on the way. And I'll see you guys in the next one.